Welcome to We Win New. Get ready for a wild ride through the skies. This isn't your average flight. This is a heart-pounding showcase of the craziest, most jaw-dropping moments ever captured in the air. Smash like button and subscribe for more epic compilations. Let's get started. AB-29 had its controls away and made an emergency crash landing on Iwo Jima on March 10, 1945. Iwo Jima is a small volcanic island in the Japanese archipelago, known primarily for the fierce Battle of Iwo Jima during World War II. On July 28, 2020, a Boeing 737 had skidded at the Halim Perdanakusuma International Airport in Jakarta. The plane was completely damaged in the landing gear section and had time to start a fire, but was lucky it did not explode.
Wah, gilang gesrot. Gesrot.
A fighter jet from the Libyan military crashed in a busy neighborhood September 2, 2014 in the city of Tobruk. The plane crashed because of a technical fault. A 60-year-old vintage fighter plane executed a flawless emergency landing without the use of its landing gear, touching down smoothly on its belly and coming to a safe stop in St. George, Utah. A small plane crashed onto a road within the White Cliff Bay Holiday Park immediately after takeoff from Bembridge Airport on the Isle of Wight on April 10, 2025. This incident happened on April 19, 2025. Sky Lease Cargo had to reject its takeoff at high speed at Santiago International Airport, Chile. Within 18 seconds, the plane came to a stop, even with a bit of runway left to spare. Smoke came from the tires, and all 16 of the wheels making up the main gear deflated. Emergency services were called to ensure there was no fire. The pilot, Tadeusz Rona, made a remarkable emergency landing in Poland on November 2, 2011. He didn't really relax until he got word that all the passengers had gotten off the plane safely. Alita Air Service A320 damaged the runway asphalt while landing at Sorong Dominique Edward Osok Airport in Indonesia, forcing the airport to close for 6 hours. Passenger videos a strong turbulence event on board a Aerolíneas Argentinas 737 MAX 8 while flying over the Andes Mountains. The incident, no injuries reported to passengers or crew. A small plane slammed across a road and just missed a Toronto area tow truck near Buttonville Airport in Markham, Canada on March 12, 2019. The plane went down around 2 p.m. and came to rest on an embankment on the north side of 16th Avenue, a busy multi-lane highway. The male pilot and a single female passenger were uninjured, though the aircraft sustained significant damage. One was a relatively new commercially licensed pilot and the other a flying instructor.
Blew out the bus glass. Golly. See what I'm talking about?
On May 26, 2025, Angara Airlines AN-24 nose gear collapsed, causing a runway excursion upon landing at Kirensk Airport, Russia. All passengers and crew evacuated safely. On the taxiway, where dump trucks with crushed stone and reinforcement were driving construction of a new runway, some object hit the wheel. On takeoff, the wheel came off and flew apart, damaging the neighboring wheel, the headlight and the flap. Location in Boryspil, Ukraine. Five people have been rescued after spending 36 hours on top of a plane in an alligator-infested swamp in the Amazon after it was forced to make an emergency landing. Amazingly, 2 men and a dog came out of this situation unharmed when their plane had engine problems and landed in a tree short of the runway at Destin Airport. The crash is off airport property on Planet Drive, Florida. A Brazilian airliner overran the runway after landing at Chapeco Airport, Brazil. On its initial approach, the aircraft had to abort the landing due to low visibility. After halting near the airport, the crew made a second attempt but failed to stop on the runway. Look at the moment when Brazilian police block them and what happens next on helicopter footage. A man was up for a birthday flight with his wife, mother-in-law and his 7-month-old boy when they received the shocking news that their carburetor had iced over.
Well, right now we're looking for a place to land. Here.
After gliding over some field, they found an ideal place to land the plane. The pilot was experienced in field landings, but unfortunately the snow caused the landing gear to sever from the plane, flipping the plane front to back and smashing the tail before it came to a rest upside down. It's a miracle everyone walked away.
I didn't expect that. Okay.
This video shows the importance of receiving good foundation training when getting your warbirds rating. What you learn first will stick to your memory. The aircraft was on a local flight from Carlisle Airport, UK, when the engine failed due to loss of oil pressure. The windscreen became partially obscured with an oil film, but the pilot was able to make a forced landing in a field, during which the aircraft was substantially damaged. Kasai Antonov, and 26 crashes after landing at Kongolo Airport that serves the Lualaba River city of Kongolo, Democratic Republic of the Congo. One of the aircraft's engines caught fire during the accident but was quickly extinguished by first responders. All passengers survived. On October 28, 2016, an American Airlines Boeing sustained substantial damage after experiencing an unconstrained engine failure during takeoff at Chicago O'Hare International Airport, Illinois. The right engine suffered an uncontained failure, leading to a severe fire and a successful evacuation of all 170 passengers and crew. Here's some footage of the 720 jetliner crash test. The 1984 controlled impact demonstration conducted by NASA and the FAA used a remotely piloted 720 jet airliner deliberately crashed on the prepared surface of Rogers Dry Lake at Edwards Air Force Base. An airplane crashed at a short takeoff and landing competition in Alaska. During these trials, pilots see who can land the shortest distance. On November 12, 2022, during the Wings Over Dallas Air Show at Dallas Executive Airport, a mid-air collision occurred between two World War II-era aircraft. The probable cause was inadequate planning and coordination by the air show's organizers. A small plane with 4 passengers aboard that had lost a wheel upon takeoff made an emergency landing at Sarasota-Bradenton International Airport, Florida on April 28, 2017. The plane then circled the airport to dump fuel before attempting its emergency landing. A biplane crashed during an airshow at a metropolitan Atlanta airport. Pilot error was to blame in a crash during an airshow at DeKalb Peachtree Airport, 2016. On April 11, 2025, a helicopter crashed into the Hudson River in New York. The helicopter lost control soon after turning at the George Washington Bridge to move along the New Jersey shoreline. Nearly 40 years ago today, 3 aircraft belonging to the Italian aerobatic team Frecce Tricolori collided during the traditional air show at Ramstein Air Base in 1988. To this day, no one has politically accepted responsibility for the tragedy.
which first flew in October of 1947.
On May 2, 1993, during the El Toro Air Show at Marine Corps Air Station El Toro in California, an accident occurred involving a vintage Canadair jet. The impact scattered debris along the runway, but no spectators were injured. Rectech radial engine failures have been linked to several mechanical issues over the years, occasionally resulting in mid-flight power losses or forced landings, and in some cases contributing to accidents involving vintage or home-built aircraft, where these engines are commonly installed. Two planes collided near a terminal gate at Pearson International Airport in Toronto, Canada, on January 1, 2018, forcing hundreds to evacuate the other via an emergency slide.
Crazy. Crashed another plane into a WestJet plane.
On July 8, 2022, an experimental amateur-built Colt Firestar 2 aeroplane was damaged when it was involved in an accident near Cleveland, Georgia. Post-accident examination of the airframe, engine and propeller revealed no evidence of any pre-impact mechanical malfunctions or failures that would have precluded normal operation. Fortunately, the pilot was not injured and the glider sustained only minor damage thanks to the flexibility of the trees. The pilot learned from that and was flying safe now. An aircraft was forced to make an emergency landing at Tel Aviv's Ben Gurion Airport, Israel, following the detection of a serious technical malfunction mid-flight. The gear got stuck up due to a broken part in the landing gear, so they flew around for over an hour troubleshooting the problem while talking to mechanics on the ground and ATC.
Pretty fast,
I recorded that.
Yeah, you did. I want a copy of that.
Whew. Nice landing. That was smoother than with gear down.
Close call in Kedarnath, India, as idiots attempt a dangerous helicopter selfie. On September 2, 2023, a gender reveal party in Sinaloa, Mexico over the weekend turned into a tragedy when a small plane crashed in front of oblivious guests. Nice to see a plane that actually requires a pilot to operate it, unlike the push-button aircraft of today.
Oh my God.
On February 28, 2021, a Luscombe 8E crashed near Jupiter, Florida. Based on available information, it is likely that the pilot became distracted when the cowling opened during takeoff, and did not maintain control of the airplane. Absolutely amazing. A jaw-dropping low approach by a Boeing 747 at St. Martin's Princess Juliana International Airport stunned beachgoers. While landing the tail-wheel-equipped aeroplane during the first test flight, the airplane bounced several times. The airplane subsequently veered left off the runway and both wings sustained damage. Are you curious how firefighting planes work? Let's see an aerial firefighting aircraft Canadair performing an incredible low-flying maneuver over a lake to refill its water tanks during the California wildfires 2020. The pilot should give instructions for the passengers to walk around the front of the chopper. Or he may have told them, but with some people, instructions go right over their heads. He's lucky he's still got a head. The crash landing of the Medevac helicopter ambulance happened just a few meters below the helipad at the Kedarnath Temple, India. The heli ambulance had a pilot and 2 doctors on board to attend to the patient. All 3 escaped the incident unhurt. This Russian Su-30 MKI crashed in 1999 during the Paris Air Show in France. The plane did one too many revolutions and didn't have the altitude to get out of the maneuver. No one was hurt, and the 2 pilots ejected safely. On July 15, 1996, a P-38 Lightning crashed at Duxford. The AAIB investigation speculated an obstruction in the cockpit caused the crash. Eyewitnesses said that the plane was unable to regain control after a low-level roll. The Harrier jumped jet ditches into the sea at Lowestoft Air Festival, 2002. During the scrapping of the Honora Air Airbus A321, the aircraft unexpectedly collapsed with a deafening crash, causing a moment of chaos as workers nearby panicked. On June 30, 2019, a plane collided with a hangar and terrain after takeoff from Addison Airport, Addison, Texas. One witness stated that as the airplane went down the runway, it seemed more quiet than normal and sounded like it did not have sufficient power to take off. Several security cameras captured the drift to the left immediately after takeoff and then a roll to the left. One camera showed the aeroplane roll completely inverted before it collided with the hangar. After experiencing a sudden engine failure mid-flight, a helicopter carrying 2 men was forced to make an emergency landing in a cornfield without further incident, and both occupants emerged unharmed, despite the harrowing ordeal.
Si è toccato.
A small plane that crashed into the ocean just off a New Hampshire beach flipped upside down when it hit the water, before slowly rolling back into an upright position. The plane had been buzzing over the crowded beach all morning, dragging a banner for an Eagles tribute band playing at a local venue.
Niente,
A small plane attempting a low landing on a coast came dangerously close to disaster, almost striking a sunbather who was lying in its path. A small airplane that was missing a tire and landing gear made an emergency belly landing at the Goodyear airport. Prior to landing, the pilots circled the airport in an attempt to burn fuel. Within an hour, the plane was strapped to a tow truck and brought to the Lufthansa Aviation Training Center at the airport. On April 8, 2008, a Mustang fighter plane was forced to make an emergency landing at RAAF Base Williams, Point Cook, Victoria, Australia, after its landing gear failed. Firefighters are on hand for fire prevention and possible rescue. A single-engine plane is flying low over the Clearwater, Florida road and suddenly banks to its left, soaring right over the deputy's squad car in Florida. Miraculously, the pilot and passenger were able to walk away from the crash. A man was filming planes flying above, preparing to land at a local airport, when he caught one of them getting struck by lightning. The pilot from the Reno Air Races survived a spectacular crash while running in the Supersport Gold Race on September 19, 2010. It failed to get off the ground after zipping along the runway, and appeared to catch a pothole or a rock and began to flip out of control. In September 2007, a plane crashed on landing at Aalborg Airport, Denmark, after its right main landing gear failed. The crew elected to go around and circle to burn off fuel and inform the passengers. Everyone is all right, a lucky escape for all on board. Kudos to the flight crew on their actions. On August 23, 2020, Kuwait Airways made a really dangerous landing at Schiphol Airport, Netherlands, in a heavy rain shower. An Airbus A319 engine cowl falling apart due to a fault on closing the cowl. The maintenance crew closed the cowl but not locked it. On April 12, 2010, an accident occurred during an airshow at Aeroporto Federal de Lages in Santa Catarina, Brazil. The aircraft entered a steep climb, executed multiple rolls, and then descended rapidly. Although the plane momentarily leveled out, it failed to recover in time and crashed into the ground.
Nossa! Meu Deus!
Meu Deus! Oh, meu pai! Ah, Jesus!
Deu avião!
An investigation into the 2017 Australia Day plane crash in Perth's Swan River in front of thousands of onlookers has suggested pilot error and poor procedures were to blame for the accident. Acting Police Commissioner Stephen Brown asked people gathered in the city for the traditional annual fireworks show to leave the area. An American Airlines Boeing 737-800 loses a tire while taking off from Tampa.
There's 590. Oh my gosh.
It's the real deal, guys.
A plane flying from Edinburgh has been evacuated after crash landing at a Dutch airport as its propellers scrape against the runway surface just after touchdown. A plane traveling from Australia to Los Angeles has been forced to make an emergency landing after smoke started billowing from the landing gear. The aircraft landed safely with no injuries reported.
But the Aquila factory also produces...
Wow, I cannot imagine the adrenaline rush that pilot must have had. It makes my nuts shrivel just watching it. Flybe flight departed from Belfast City Airport, Ireland on November 13, 2017, bound for Inverness, Scotland, when after takeoff the pilots noticed they had a problem with the nose landing gear.
I tell you what, you're doing quite well.
The finish line is here. Don't forget to give us a like button and share your road encounters in the comments. And don't miss the video on the right side of the screen. See you soon.